Hello gorgeous people, you are welcome back again to my YouTube channel. I greet you all according to your time. Well, in my last video, I said I was going to make a separate video on Provincial Nominee Program. Let's quickly dive into the video. In my previous video on ways to immigrate to Canada, I really explained the express entry part. And I also said in boosting your scores, there are different things you can do. When I say different things, genuine ways you can use to boost your scores. I mentioned provincial nominee as one of the ways, but I said it looks like a separate application on its own. This provincial nominee program, otherwise known as the PNP, is for workers with education, work experience, and skills. They should be willing to contribute to the growth of the province or territory, whichever way you call it. You should be willing to reside there. You should be willing to become permanent residents of Canada. So that's what the program entails. There are two ways you can actually apply for this provincial nomination. The first one is through express entry, and the second one is through the non-express entry. For the non-express entry, you will have to apply to the province. You need the nomination. If you meet with the eligibility, if you meet with their criteria, you will be nominated. After nomination, you will then create your express entry profile. That is if you have not created before. Then you will now be in the pool. In the next ITA, that's the invitation to apply, you will now be invited to apply. Then you apply online. You apply online for your permanent residence, and you submit your medical checks. You do the normal thing. You submit your proofs. You submit your police checks and the rest. That's for non-express entry. Then for the express entry, which is more common, why I like the express entry is because it is faster. You tend to get nominated faster than when you go through the non-express entry route. For the express entry, like I said before, you're already in the pool. Now you apply to the province and you do the normal things like checking your eligibility and seeing if you qualify. So that brings me to how the provincial nominee program is. Fine, I'm trying to talk about Saskatchewan provincial nominee program, which is also known as SIMP. Their requirements will have a little difference from another province. So I am only just using Saskatchewan as a case study. SIMP, which is Saskatchewan Immigration Nominee Program, is one of the ways you can become a permanent resident in Canada. All you need to have is a minimum of 60 points in your assessment. And if you are a skilled worker, you need to have at least 1 year of experience in 10 years. If you are not that skilled, then you should have like 2 years experience in 5 years for you to qualify for this program. What are the major things needed for this provincial nominee program? First of all, your work experience, your language test. Again, you need your identity when you talk about maybe your international passport and the rest. Then you need your proof of finances. You need them. You go online to create an expression of interest profile. You click on it and this page will pop up. You will need to create an account. Then you select your registration type. You select SIMP applicant. After doing that, you click on continue. You will need to create your username and fill every other details. Then your password will be sent to you in your account. That is the email address you use in registering the account. The password is now sent to my email address. I will now go back to that home page to go log in. This page will now pop up for you to change your password. So I just did that and I have my new password. You would also need to agree to the terms and conditions, which I also clicked agree. When you are done doing that, you start answering all the questions on the page. Like I have answered some, you fill your gender, your marital status, and the rest of it. You start supplying every information. So you need to be truthful in everything you are filling in. So this is just like a part of what you will feel. It still goes on and on and on. Then make sure you are truthful because you will be assessed based on the information you supplied. You just go online. I'll also drop the link in the description box. You go fill it. You don't need to provide anything physically now. Just be truthful as possible. Fill everything just the way it is. Even your language test, you may not have done it now, but you can just assume a score you think you will have and put it there. Then, if you meet up with the requirements, you will be sent an email. Aside the fact that you need to have your minimum of 60 points, some people do have job offers. If you have job offer, then you have to go through international skilled worker employment offer. But if you don't have a job offer and you have an express entry profile with the express entry profile number, then you can go through international skilled worker express entry. If you don't have any of these two, that is the employment offer or the express entry profile number, then you will now have to go through the international skilled worker occupation in demand. But out of these three, we met with the second criterion, that is the international skilled worker with an express entry profile number. That was the one we used in applying for SIMP. To be eligible for SIMP, first of all, you need to meet with the 60 points requirements from the assessment grid. Next is to be in the express entry pool. You need to be there till you get your nomination because that is what will boost the previous score you had in the pool. In our own case, we were in the pool for 1 year, and the following year was when we started the PMP parole. And it would have stayed that long. It stayed long because our NOC was the one that required license. So it took us another 8 months to get our license. You need to also have your language test results. Talking about the IELTS, if you're a French speaking person, you're at an advantage because I learned they've increased the points for French speakers to 50 points. So you're at an advantage. So whatever it is, your language test results should meet with the federal express entry language requirements. And you know it's valid for 2 years, meaning when you've applied for your permanent residency, you have less than 2 years to use it. Otherwise, it will get expired. Another point is having your ECA done. ECA is Educational Credential Assessment. That is, if you had your post-secondary school outside of Canada. When I say post-secondary school, you talk about your diploma, your HND, your BSc, your Masters, and your PhD. If you had it outside of Canada, you need to do your assessment, your educational credential assessment. If you had your training in your high school, you do not need to do the ECA. I think this is more for those in Canada now. You don't need ECA. You only need your license. You have to apply for license if your NOC is the one that requires licensing. I'll be dropping a link to check if your NOC is the one that requires licensing. In our own case, ours required licensing because it was an engineering NOC. This made the nomination process a bit lengthy for us because it took us about 8 months to obtain our license. So after getting the license, we then furthered the application. I think in a month's time, we got our nomination. After getting nomination, it's automatically added to the one in the pool after acceptance. You need to accept it. When you get a mail, you'll be asked if you accept it or no. So when you accept it, your points in the pool will update. And based on the scores, how high it is, that is how the candidates will get their invitation to apply, ITA. So we got nomination August, we got our ITA September, less than a month. So September we got ITA, then that was when we now applied to IRCC. That's the main application that leads you into getting the golden mail. Golden mail is the passport request mail. You also need to show your proof of settlement fund. So after obtaining all these, at least these are the major ones, if Saskatchewanprovince sees that they are okay with what you've submitted, you will now be sent a mail into your account for expression of interest. That is when all these things you filled in the assessment grid, you will submit proofs for them, you provide documents for them. If you said you had 8.5 in your IELTS, you should be able to show the results. If you stay in Namibia, you should also show a proof. And that's why I mentioned earlier that you need to be truthful in filling your eligibility assessment. Because if at the end of the day, there's a misrepresentation, your case will be taken to PIE, that's Program Integrity Unit. That is when they will go and assess you very well. In most cases, they may give you suspension, depending on the gravity of whatever you must have done. It's not a good place to be. I had a friend that was there, it was not good. Most times, you may not even be eligible to get your nomination. So be truthful as possible. Then, when everything is in place and you have met with all the requirements, they will now nominate you, send you your nomination certificate, which you will accept. If you don't accept it, your points in the express entry pool will not increase. But as soon as you accept it, your points in the express entry pool will increase, such that when IRCC is giving the next invitation to apply, depending on how high the scores are in the pool, you will now be selected or you will now be given invitation to apply. So when you are given invitation to apply, that is when you now do your medical checks. You will be sent a letter, you will do your PCC as well. There are other little documents you'll be required to produce, and then you will wait. You just pray that your wait will not be too long. You wait. If your application is very smooth and you don't have any ADR, what is ADR? Additional documents required or requested, then be sure that you will get the golden mail soon. But if along the line some documents are requested, it will delay the application a little because the time it will take you to submit whatever they ask you, the time it will take them to go through it, so it will make your application delay a little, which was also the issue we had in our own. We were sent mails to produce so many things. but at the end of the day, it turned out to be successful. So if you don't want to get those mails, try to be genuine as possible. If you are submitting your proof of fund, let your proof of fund be clear, the source of where you got the proof of fund, how you saved it, how long it stayed in your account. Make sure it's smooth. Your international passport should be very valid as at the time you are applying for your permanent residency. You need everything has to be done decently and in order. That is why you hear some people, I just applied for, in 3 months time I got my passport request. So you hear some, I applied January, I got my PPR in September, like that. Some stay up to 3 years. All applications are not the same. It also still depends on whoever is handling your file. That is why you have to be very prayerful as well. Some will just find favor, they will submit it. Some may not even do all the necessary things. That is where this word favor comes in. You will just see, before you know it, they are already having their PPRs, whereas some will have to stay 2 or 3 years. But there's always a reason for everything. God has a reason for everything. So always commit your applications into the hands of God. If you want to know how we obtain our professional licensure in Saskatchewan, just let me know in the comment section so that I can make a video on that as well. If you found this video generally helpful, kindly hit the subscribe button if you have not done so. Like the video as well, share it too, because so many people may need these tips. See you in my next video. Bye.